Hard work, communication, and the biggest thing is believing in those that you bring in. I'm a big family person. Everybody that knows me knows that, immediate family, my spouse and my children and my parents, because I'm an only child, I do everything with them. We're very close knit. And so I incorporate that same thing within my team, within my athletic department, because I want you to know that I'm here for you. My job is to be a role model for these young women, and I've always stood on that. And so just leading by example and showing them what a successful woman looks like and can be. No matter your circumstances, no matter what you're up against, adversity is going to come, but you can still be successful.
What's up, everybody? This is Off the Field Season 6. We got a special one for you guys today. We got no other than Miss Courtney Pruitt. Miss Courtney is accomplished, experienced athletic director with a proven track record in 4-year and 2-year institution, including the NCAA, NAIA, NJCAA programs. Currently serving as an athletic director and assistant conference commissioner with expertise in fundraising, program development, and building strong campus partnerships. She's a former head coach at Alcorn State, former assistant coach at Prairie View, and now currently the athletic director at Kilgore College. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. That was quite an introduction. You made me sound good.
Good. Yeah, there's no lies, so it's going to be a good one for the audience. Pleasure for you to be on. So for the people that don't know you, can you talk a little bit about your journey, how you even got to being an athletic director at the college?
Well, my journey was I was a collegiate athlete. I played soccer and I played women's basketball. And then from there, I transitioned into coaching, not because I wanted to, but really just by chance. My junior college coach from Lon Morris College was like, "Hey, I have an assistant coaching position open. Are you interested?" And it was back at home, and so I thought, why not? It's a great opportunity. Let me take a chance at it. And so once I started, I really fell in love with it. I pursued my master's degree and had some opportunities to do some adjunct teaching as well. And so after 3 years of being an assistant coach and the head cross country coach, I became head coach at a 2-year school in West Texas. So I just kind of matriculated on and grew as a coach and learned a lot of things from some very influential people like Trina Tillis Jones, who is the head coach at Tyler Junior College. And she won the national championship 2 years ago and went on to Wiley College, which is the home of the great debaters. I don't know if you've heard about that movie with Denzel Washington, and had a national team there. And we went to the national tournament for NAI every year. We played in the national semifinals. And then I transitioned on to Alcorn State University and was there for 5 years as their head coach and wanted to get back to Texas. That was during around the time of COVID. And so transitioned to Prairie View, and this opportunity came up to be at home in Kilgore. And I jumped at it, and I was just blessed to be put in this position.
So you say you didn't even really want to get into coaching. You just stumbled around coaching?
I just stumbled around it. My 2-year degree is in chemistry, and I really wanted to go into being a dentist or a dental hygienist just because I wanted to do something in the medical field. I really wasn't sure, but I did get my bachelor's in sport management because I was fascinated with the idea of being a sports agent, which has really come along for women, particularly women of color, with Jalen Hurts and his agent. So that was kind of something I was intrigued with as well. But coaching, I got the coaching bug and it just took off from there.
So what did you learn from coaching at various schools, and what did you bring to each school? Because you had success everywhere you went. Not many people could say that. So what is your secret to success?
Hard work, communication, and the biggest thing is believing in those that you bring in. I'm a big family person. Everybody that knows me knows that, immediate family, my spouse and my children and my parents, because I'm an only child, I do everything with them. We're very close knit. And so I incorporate that same thing within my team, within my athletic department, because I want you to know that I'm here for you. My job is to be a role model for these young women, and I've always stood on that. And so just leading by example and showing them what a successful woman looks like and can be. No matter your circumstances, no matter what you're up against, adversity is going to come, but you can still be successful. So I just made sure to stand on my foundation of my core values and always implement those everywhere I go and just let them know that they are a part of the family, they are loved, and they are heard.
So you're actually the first athletic director that we even have on the show. So
Okay.
what is the role as an athletic director? Like you said, living by your principles, but what does goes into the daily life of an athletic director?
Day-to-day operations include budget. Budget is a big thing because you don't want to go over budget, but you always want to make sure that your coaches have everything that they need to be successful. Being a former coach, I know how important that is to make sure that your student athletes feel like they are coming first and that their sport is important to the institution. So that's a big part of it is budget. The next part I would say is compliance. You want to make sure that you're following all the rules of right now the NJCAA, making sure that everybody is eligible academically, that they are sound, that we are communicating with our professors here on campus, and that we have a great working relationship because the ultimate goal is to get an education. So that would be one. And then just having connections on campus, making sure that we are a part of our campus and not only a part of our campus, but a part of our community. We do a fantastic job with community outreach. We do a fantastic job with making sure that the city and the town of Kilgore know that we're here to support them and we're here to make our city better.
And you mentioned a couple of things, right? You mentioned just having your coaches back. Personally, I played football at other schools, and sometimes it didn't feel like the athletic director really had the coaches back in certain sports. So, how big is that as an athletic director?
It's number one to me on the list. Being a former head coach at all levels, I have sometimes felt like the athletic director did not have my back, and I know how that feels. I know how it feels to not be supported as a women's coach and coaching young women because you might not be coaching a revenue sport. You don't get the same perks and you don't get the same amenities, if you will, that the other teams do. So for me as an athletic director, I want everybody to feel as if they are equally important and that I'm going to go to bat for them no matter what.
So let's talk about your football program. You guys are the most winningest football team in Texas right now. And not only that, your graduation rate is the highest in Texas as well. So what do you owe that success to? And also, what role did you play in just building that in terms of recruiting, in terms of funding the football teams, in terms of funding the whole athletic staff?
Well, I can't take all the credit for it. Kilgore has a rich tradition. Their football team goes way back to the 1930s, and they've always had a rich tradition in being successful. They've done that with great coaching and recruiting great talent. Everybody knows that Texas is a football state. It's king here. So our coaches that we have in place now, led by head coach Willie Gooden, he's done a phenomenal job since 2018 of making sure to continue that tenure of being on top. We have the highest transfer rate in all of junior colleges in the state of Texas, the highest graduation rate, as well as the highest, well, I say winning rate. We've made 30 bowl appearances. We have 32 conference titles. So it's a very well respected program. My biggest part since I've been here is to make sure that we are taking care of our young men and that we're recruiting those who want to be here. That's important. And my biggest thing that I ask Coach Gooden all the time, he gets a kick out of it, is who is our QB1? We've had some phenomenal young men come through here during my tenure that have went on to be successful. Cam Peters, who is now at Prairie View, is doing a phenomenal job. We had a great signing class this year. Anthony Rose signed with New Mexico State. Jalen Webb signed to Boise State, to name a few. So we're doing a great job with getting our kids to the next level. And that's just compliments of our coaching staff and them making sure to do all of the groundwork so that these young men can be successful.
So you only do have 2 years filling players, right? For your some students. Do
Mhm.
you feel like it's the school responsibility to prepare the athletes for life after, or do you feel like your responsibility is prepare for them to be able to make the transition to their 4 year college?
I think it's a little bit of both. Here at the junior college level, you're going to get an experience like none other. It's not a P5. This is where you learn the foundations of making sure that you're a good teammate, holding you accountable, and learning those integrity pieces so that when you transition to the next level, that's already in place and they don't have to reteach that. So I think that that's important. Also, classroom environment is important, learning to make sure and take care of your business, get your assignments done, learning how to communicate with your professors. So many young people come in and they, kind of lack the soft skills that are necessary to be able to interact with the different climates on campus. So I think that teaching them that prepares them, but it also prepares them for life because communication is key in any aspect or field that you should go into if you don't get to continue on in sports.
So, as an aspiring athletic director, or even just an aspiring coach, what
Mhm.
kind of advice would you give your younger self starting off in the business?
I would say you're going to make it. I'm one that always pushes myself or feels like I'm not doing enough. There's no limit to what I'm going to try to do. Even now, I'm still trying to better myself and grow and excel. So I'm just going to tell myself to, hey, pace yourself. It's going to work out. It's going to happen. Just remember to keep doing the right thing.
So, this next segment is brought to you by Off the Field Financial. That's where all the plaques in the back comes from. And what we found out is that most people are looking for ways to make more money without having to get another job. So, this next set of questions is going to be tailored towards our four-step system of Off the Field Financial. So, first question: do you know what the rule of 72 is?
I do not. Please educate me on the rule of 72.
Cool. So the rule of 72 is 72 divided by the interest rate, and that's how long it's going to take for your money to double. So it can be 72 divided by average banks is around 2% interest right now. So let's say
Mhm.
72 divided by zero point 0.2 is going to take your money 300 years just for it to double. So that's the rule of 72.
Okay.
Uh, yes, man. Do you know what the difference between term and whole life insurance is?
Yes, term is, for the if you get let's say you take the policy out when you're 20, a term will be a 20-year term. And so by the time that you're 40, you could do a number of things with that in policy. I have one personally where it goes into a rolls over into an IRA. So, whole is for the duration of your life, but it's at whatever increment that you enter into it. So if it's 25,000, that may not be the funeral cost at the end of your lifespan, but that's how much you would have for your family to take care of your closing financial needs.
And for the viewers that's watching this too that don't know anything about term or whole life you can also build cash value and accumulate money. So that's how sometimes the rich get richer, like Disney World or McDonald's is built on whole life insurance. So for the viewers that's watching, if you want to learn more about finances and money, come check out our four-step system. We teach everybody how to make money. Next question: do you have a retirement plan set up right now?
Yes, in the state of Texas, you are required to enter into what's called Texas Teachers Retirement. So I've been enrolled, invested in that for my lifespan of being a coach and being an administrator. But I also did a stint in Mississippi where I invested in theirs. It's called PERS. But what I just did when I went back to the state of Texas, I just rolled it over into what I have now.
I love it. So let's talk about that though, because college coaches or just coaches all around usually don't have a retirement plan set up because sometimes it's not offered by the schools or just offered by different things. You really have to get out on your own. So,
Mhm.
what's the importance of making sure that your money is structured, especially having a career like coaching? You could be at one school 1 year, another school another year. It fluctuates so much.
Yes, you're exactly right. Coaching is a ever spinning wheel. So you may be in one state one year and another state the next year. I think it's important if that's going to be your life to make a investment in a IRA or something with a financial firm such as JG Wentworth or Fidelity or TIAA Craft. That way you're putting a consistent amount with every paycheck that you get into that account. And that way it continues to grow and to build based on whatever the interest rates and the trading values that are occurring within the market currently. So I mean that's important because you're not going to be a coach forever. You may want to hang that head up and transition into another field, but you're not going to be young forever. And so there's going to come a time when you got to hang up your whistle And so you want to make sure that you have invested your earnings appropriately so that you will have a comfortable retirement. So that would be my suggestion. Or if the school or institution has one, just make sure that you roll it over everywhere you go, so that you have something in place.
Said some great things right there. Rolling it over and then also building your own personal. You can have both, right? You can always diversify. And that's what it sounds like you have. You have a lot of different portfolios around investing your money into. So now let's transition over to some current events. Right
Mhm.
now, your softball team signed 11 players. How has COVID affected the recruiting process as an athletic director or even as a coach?
At first, initially, it affected it because people were kind of hesitant on letting their students or their children come back to school and be in an environment such as a dorm, and being surrounded by others. Our coaches have really done a phenomenal job of hitting the road and recruiting not only kids who want to be student athletes, but also recruiting local talent. There's Texas is a big state, and so we really pride ourselves on recruiting locally and recruiting kids who parents can come see them play so that we can have that support in the stands and also bring in other stakeholders from the community because they see that we're bringing homegrown apples into our institution. Coach Amber Williams, has done a phenomenal job recruiting in just her second year here. And she's also a hometown girl. She's from Kilgore, Texas. And so she graduated from our local high school and she actually played softball here at Kilgore College. So we just want to continue to grow and expand from what we have from our own.
So, as an athletic director, how important is it recruiting in state? Because sometimes it feels like, even for me at Maryland, it feels like the coaches don't like Maryland kids, or the coaches don't like sometimes the states that they're in. Is that important, or is that just something that?
I think it varies. You want to have a mixture of both because you want to have diversity. You want to have people from all walks of life. And when you get to college, it's a melting pot, especially on an athletic team. So there's no discrimination against Maryland. I think Maryland has great student athletes, definitely some great football and basketball players from my experience. Our administration really pushes us to recruit local talent because we want to get our community members involved, and we don't want those kids to leave, and we don't want those parents to have to travel so far to see their kids play. So I think that's just a part of it for us. We just really want to bring in the crowds and bring in the community. And what better way to do it with someone who has been there from little league ball all the way to high school to now to college.
So right now, y'all, JUCO just got an extra 4 years after playing JUCO, right? Has that played a part of you guys' recruiting process?
Well, it's been a big part. Number one, because if a student athlete does not get the looks that he or she, feels like they should, they have that potential to kind of have something to fall back on to continue to hone their game. Recruiting wise, it also is kind of like a catch 22 because you have kids that want to stay, but then also what's going to happen with your high school student athletes? Are they going to have an opportunity to go somewhere? And typically, if they don't have an opportunity at a 4 year, they have an opportunity at a 2 year. So I think it really mixes the pot up a little bit. And I don't like playing devil's advocate, but it's going to make it interesting just as much as we want to keep our student athletes and retain them. We also want to bring in new blood because that's how your word of mouth continues and that's how you continue to grow the program. So I think it's a little bit of both, but I'm excited either way. There's still so many things to come this spring before the final decision is made in August of 2025. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out.
And it's funny that you said that because now it's reclassifying everything. That's dead now. You might as well go to JUCO. You might as well find a different alternative if you can't make it to that four. You have more alternatives now versus trying to reclass, trying to hold your years now. So it
Mhm.
gives a lot more flexibility.
Absolutely.
Why do you feel like they just started this rule? I know you said on the board a couple of things. Did they mention this anywhere?
Well, I don't really know why they started. They send out, informational emails to all athletic directors concerning potential rule changes and what's coming down the pipeline. Well, I think it really got started with the Vanderbilt quarterback that was able to get his 6 year back. And then you've had several quarterbacks this year that have played their 8th year of eligibility and due to injuries, of course. But it also kind of is a tough thing when you're talking about progression in your degree, progression towards degree, PTD. And so, we want to make sure that these student athletes are still keeping what's important at the top of their list, which is graduating. So if you stay at a junior college too long, you don't want to exceed the percentage that you need for your degree to be able to transfer. So if you have too many, when I say exceed, I mean too many elective classes or too many classes that won't transfer. So I think it's very important to kind of do for the student athletes to do their research with their academic advisors and get a degree plan and more to it than just playing sports. I know that's what's important to everybody. I know the NIL is what's most important of being seen on the playing surface, but I think you also have to look at it from two lenses and make sure that you're making the best decision for your future.
So let's talk about NILs. Like I know sometimes it's usually only for the P5 schools are like the big time, the Alabamas, the Miamis, the schools that has a lot of people donating money to it, right? But let's say
Mhm,
somebody like got a powerhouse for Kilgore. Are
mhm.
any players getting NIL deals? Are you guys trying to find NIL deals or they have to fend for themselves?
No, that's something that is fairly new for us. With being a small college, we only have four sports: football, men's and women's basketball, and softball. But there are a number of entities like Open Doors will come out and will come to our national convention that we will be able to do kind of like a seminar on to learn. So that's something that we're geared towards for this upcoming school year is making sure that our student athletes have those opportunities and it makes us that much more attractive when recruiting, when coaches come in and say, well, hey, we have these opportunities too. It's not just at the University of Texas, or your P5 schools, as you said.
So there's been a recent increase in women athletic directors. However, that number is still extremely low. When you compare it to the men, what is your take on that? Why do you feel like it's low, or do you feel like it needs to be higher?
It's funny that you asked me that question. I'm actually working through my dissertation process, and my dissertation is on exploring the barriers and understanding the challenges that women and people of color face on their career path to becoming an athletic director. So I've been looking at this and doing the research and doing interviews. And out of the 1,134 athletic director positions in the NCAA, women only have 14% of those jobs. And that's very low and minorities have 25%. That's very alarming, but I think a big part of it is, decision making. Who's making the decisions? And when you do the research and you go and look at the chancellors and the presidents who are sitting at the top of these administrations, they're not very diverse. And that doesn't mean that they're not willing to hire a female or a person of color. But I do think that when you're surrounded by a certain group of people, you know what you know and what you're comfortable with, you're going to go with that. It's no slight to anybody. I think that if you work in education, you have to be diversified because of the population of your students. But I don't think that that same thinking goes when you're making decisions of who to hire. So I just think there's need to be a little bit more diversity. And I know a number of schools have done that with hiring search firms to look for their candidates. And I think that's very important in the decision making so that we can bring in the right person for the job, whether that's a female, whether that's a male, or a person of color, or both. So I just think that the lens, the mind's eye lens, but just really diversifying who's doing the decision making.
You talk about diversifying. How big is it to diversify, especially as an athletic director for your coaching staff?
It's something that we preach, number one, because you have student athletes from all backgrounds and all walks of life. So you want to make sure that we're able to relate to those young people and be able to give them the best experience possible. So it's very important for our staff to be well rounded and being able to connect on a number of levels.
Especially coming from as a JUCO, right? I know
Mhm.
you guys try to stay in home, but
Mhm.
you guys may have people come all across the world, right? It might not be a lot, but how important of an impact do you see people from different states? Because Kilgore could be it's like that at a public like Dallas. How far are you guys from Dallas?
We're 120 miles east of Dallas, so not very far. 3.5 hours from Houston. Our head coach, football coach, Coach Gooden, he's actually from Hempstead, which is like on the outskirts of Houston. Our offensive coordinator, Paul Burgos, is kind of from like the Dallas area, and our defensive coordinator, Coach Russell Thompson, is from Jacksonville, Texas. So that's deep East Texas. So we have just a plethora. Our men's basketball coach is actually from the Bahamas originally by way of Houston. Our women's basketball coach is from Waller, which is right down by Prairie View. And like I told you, our softball coach is local. So I think that, but our assistant coaches hail from Alabama, Louisiana, and then our position coaches as well. So I think that having people from different areas also helps because you want to know coaches everywhere because everybody has players. And so being able to tap into that resource, you're not going to just recruit Texas, you're going to recruit who wants to come to you. That's my motto. I want who wants me. And I want them to buy in and believe in my philosophy of being a student athlete and building a successful program. So I think our coaches do a phenomenal job of not just picking homegrown talent, but also recruiting from the portal. We get a lot of transfers in, and they are scattered from all parts of the country. California, we have a few international students. We have our quarterback this year was from Ohio. So I think that it's just as important to get hometown kids as it is out of town kids to get that balance and also give them a taste of being in the great state of Texas.
I know if I was still playing, I would love for you to be our athletic director. I know that for sure.
Hey, I want to do what's best for our student athletes, and I am a football person. I love it. Actually, our one of our former student athletes, Lane Johnson, the offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, he's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, and he started out here at Kilgore College as a quarterback. He got recruited by the University of Oklahoma, and he gained had a growth is what it was, and he got moved to offensive line, and the rest is history. And one of the highest paid offensive linemen. I think he is the highest paid and hasn't allowed a sack, and he does a great job. And he also does a phenomenal job with giving back to our institution, mainly to our athletic program. Recently, he made a donation. Well, let me go back to 2020. He made a donation and they built the weight room called The Lane. And it's a first class weight room and it's for all student athletes. And then he came back last year and renovated our field house and also made some other additions for our other sports teams. And recently, again, he made another key donation for us to upgrade our technology and the different things that we have for our student athletes. So I can't go without praising Lane and his relationship with our football coaches and just him believing in what we're doing here is great. But fly, Eagles fly. We're rooting for them and we're rooting for him.
I mean, we are too. I got the Eagles right here. That's my squad too. So you talked about a little bit like Lane giving back, right?
Mhm.
Just other people giving back, like donors and stuff like that. How big is politicking as an athletic director?
I think politicking is important mainly because it's all about relationships. As a coach, it's all about relationships with your student athletes. As you transition into administration, it's all about relationships with your community members, with your local board members, and helping them to understand and see that what you're doing is a great thing and it's going to help the future of the institution. So I think that politicking and showing that you have the best interest of the college in mind as well as these young people is key and that you have to be open. You can't be closed off and not open to new ideas because I think everybody has great ideas, but it's a way to structure it organizationally wise and bring it and make it work for your college.
I appreciate you for coming on today.
Yes,
Anything
sir.
you want to say to your fans and supporters out there that's watching?
No, I appreciate you for having me at Off the Field, but the podcast, I appreciate you inviting me on. It's been a pleasure. I actually learned something today with the rule of 72, and I appreciate you enlightening me on that. And I really admire the financial portion of it because I really feel like that's something that our young people do not have that we miss out on. And it's important for your portfolio in life to be diversified. So go Rangers. And if you ever have a chance to check us out, our website is kcrangernation.com. Our Twitter is at KCMTXE is for football, Kilgore Hoops for men's basketball, Kilgore softball. And then did I do women? Kilgore women's basketball. So please follow us on X, not Twitter, X, and check us out. And if you can make a game, we would love to see you.